Hello and welcome. Thank you all for joining me. I'm really excited today because we have the CEO and founder of Client Success, the #1 software customer success team, and Dave Blake. And he has been the CEO and founder since 2013, so all 7 years, and it has definitely, I'm sure, flown by. I'm really excited today to speak with him about this question that I've been thinking of, which is really how will, COVID-19 indelibly change customer success and the way that customer success managers and really businesses as a whole look at their customer experience and their customer engagement, given, hopefully once we're out of this pandemic, and then what life looks like in a post-COVID world, assuming that we all get there. So, Dave, I want to thank you so much for being here today. I'm really excited to have this conversation.
Thanks, Brittany. I'm excited to be here. Appreciate you inviting me.
Yeah, and so I was reading Kevin Kelly's book called The Inevitable, and it's all about, technology, 12 core technologies that he believes is changing the world. And in this section, he has something, answers I think are so, certain answers are so readily available in our society. We can Google and get the answer to really any question. And so now I think the real core is asking good questions, given that we could kind of get any answer. And so he has a blurb in his book where he says that a good question is not one that can be answered immediately. It's one that changes existing answers. It's one that you badly want the answer to once you hear it, but had no idea you cared before it was asked. A good question creates a new territory of thinking. It reframes its own answers, and it skirts on this edge of, what's known and what's unknown. It's the seed of innovation. It's a probe, kind of a what-if scenario. And I think ultimately it generates other good questions. And I think the question that we're going to be talking about today, how COVID indelibly changes customer success, I hope is going to be one of those good questions that kind of does all the above. But before we get into that, I'd love to really understand your journey. I know you've worked multiple places, and I know that you founded and still run this company, Client Success. So can you tell me a little bit about your journey and why you even started a company really dedicated towards customer and client success?
Yeah, you bet. Happy to. So I've been in, I would say, the customer success space for most of my career, even though it's been under different names and different titles. And so I spent early in my career in a consulting role, but doing technology implementations, and really learned through that to really engage with customers to understand their needs and be able to translate solutions to their needs. And that started me on the path to customer success. And then went from there to an early stage company called Omniture here in Utah. I'm based in Utah, which is a great SaaS ecosystem. But there was a company called Omniture, and they needed at the time account managers. And today, account managers have more of a sales type slant to them. But back in that day, it was a pure customer success role. And I jumped over to that company. It was a little company at the time called Omniture. Little did I know, and gratefully surprised that was a great move, because it was on its way up and it went hyper growth and then went public, and it was acquired by Adobe for $1.8 billion. And so I started out on the front lines as a CSM, managing strategic accounts, some of the biggest brands in the world, and learned right in the trenches, and then eventually became the vice president of strategic and enterprise customer success at Adobe and Omniture, and just loved it. I've loved everything about it. But I was craving tools and resources for our team. We never had those. We were cobbling together insights and analytics and dashboards and spreadsheets. And so I left and founded Client Success, and really say that I was chasing a pain point and a passion. Pain point of not having a solution tailored for my needs as a customer success leader and my team, my global customer success team. and trying to solve that pain point of having a very simple, elegant solution tailored for us. But then the second one was a passion for this space. I just love customer success space. I love everything about it. I love engaging with customers. I love the community. And so that's how I got into how we founded Client Success.
Yeah, and that's actually how we met. Dave and I met on a customer success meetup in Houston when he was here and he presented. And I think your passion and intelligence around, you know, the statistics and how this really and why this is so important for all companies and customers to care about customer success. So absolutely, that's great. So I am a big fan. So, you know, since we met in that meetup, which seems like a forever ago, given, you know, the current circumstances, I've been following Client Success. I love the weekly webinars that you all have, and I'm learning so much. And it's just a really great way to stay engaged and keep learning, especially during this time of, at the time quarantine, I'm just kind of voluntarily quarantining still. And so it's been so great. And I know we'll link ways that people can find out more about those. But I'm wondering, you know, what you're seeing, I guess, currently in the way that people are adjusting to what client success looks like, and customer success and customer experience kind of management looks like in this world of, you know, rapidly changing, especially since kind of the pandemic began and where we still are today.
Yeah, I think it's changed a lot. I mean, I think that first of all, this crisis has been so horrible in so many ways, and my heart goes out to people and individuals and family members of friends and colleagues and communities who have been impacted in a very negative way by this, whether it's job impact or whether, you know, we've seen individuals in our lives who have passed away because of this. But I think that there is some, you know, in every difficult time, there's a silver lining. And I really believe that one of the silver linings of this experience is this recommitting and reappreciation of relationships, of all relationships. So whether it's family relationships, you know, we've got 5 kids in our family, and my oldest is married. So we've all been at our house, you know, quarantining together, and that experience has been great. So family relationships, friend relationships, and client relationships, customer relationships. I think the one silver lining is it's going to change the dynamics of relationships forever. It's going to help us to appreciate them more. It's going to help us to have more empathy, and be able to connect on a very authentic and real way with people going forward. I think that will be one of the best outcomes and silver linings of this unfortunate crisis.
No, that's really great to hear. I mean, relationships are now, you know, more important than ever. I'm in this large apartment complex, and our apartment complex kind of leaders sent out emails saying that, you know, we know that this is a really difficult time. I have a friend here who actually was or is a hairstylist, and during that time when it was, you know, complete statewide shutdown and the way that's impacted them, really seeing our company or our entity kind of reaching out and saying, we want to work with you on your rent and how can we come up with the plan, etc. Really almost the sense of like new collaboration of like, we're in this together. How can we make this work from a financial standpoint? You know, what can you do? How can we help you and be flexible? And so given, you know, of course you have to have that existing relationship, but how have you seen collaboration kind of maybe, you know, we've always worked with finance, but I think now kind of financiers, some of the people who I see kind of stepping up to the plate and really being tasked with either to come up with creative or long-term or just think in new and different ways because of the impact.
Yeah, I think that's true. I love what you said. And then we see that as well as people are trying to help other people. They're recognizing that we're all impacted. And I kind of think about this change in collaboration. It's like when you exercise, you rip muscle, and then it grows, it strengthens as it repairs. And I think that's the way that the collaboration has happened, is we've kind of had this ripping, our normal protocols, our normal communication channels, our normal office engagement, telephone engagement has kind of been ripped apart in some sense. But the human spirit has come back, and people have figured out how do we strengthen the collaboration through other channels and in different ways. And I think that as we've done that, so whether it's being Zoom, I used to never be a video communication guy
Me too.
at all. Like I used to join Zoom calls, and I would never go on video just because I always felt like it was awkward. I still do a little bit just because, anyway. But it's forever changed. Now I can have a conversation on Zoom and feel much more comfortable. And now it's the primary aspect. Our leadership team, we would meet once a week for our leadership meeting. But because of this, we decided, hey, we need to have a daily stand-up, a 15-minute daily stand-up at 8:15 in the morning. That's changed. I don't know if we'll ever go back. And so I think that with internally and externally with our customers, I think that the jarring and that ripping of our norms has encouraged us and prompted us to think about collaboration and communication in very different ways, and hopefully again for the better.
Yeah, absolutely. I also think of, kind of repurposing, and I will say I got this idea from your great webinars that I've done weekly of, seeing sales teams who maybe aren't the busiest people right about now, kind of be repurposed as an extension or an augmentation of customer success in terms of reaching out to customer, gathering intel, being able to better segment your customers based on the impact, the varying impact that this pandemic has had on them. Can you speak a little bit about, ways that you're seeing, yes, collaboration, but also kind of some of this repurposing and really kind of all underpinned by this, we hear about like agile thinking or, the design thinking methodology. And I think this pandemic, as you mentioned, it's a rebuilding, and it's making us be more agile, more creative, more adaptable. Really, sometimes on like a daily basis, things are changing.
Yeah, I mean, you've mentioned our webinars. That maybe that's a good example, in that we used to do a webinar every once in a while. When this happened, it forced us to rethink about our marketing strategy, and the way that we approach that. And I think a lot of people are doing is that is a give back. It's a give to get mentality. So we said, what, in this time, people are working from home. There's a lot of uncertainty. Can we be a force of thought, content, insights, and really help galvanize a community and be a place where people can come and learn together and foster a relationship and maybe feel a sense of community when they're home alone during this time. And so we repurposed our whole marketing strategy and our marketing budget to say we're gonna focus on these webinars twice a week, which is pretty aggressive. I don't know very many people who are doing webinars twice a week, and it's been really great. And I think that's what we see everywhere. And customer success is one of the places that's leading out. They're figuring out different ways to engage with customers. They're bringing in new resources. They're being creative about how they deliver value for customers, and that's been inspiring to see across the community.
Wow, that's great. I mean, I didn't know they were twice a week. I mean, that's phenomenal. Yeah. And I think that kind of speaks to your organizations and the ability to be agile and to completely, kind of change on a dime and reallocate your entire, marketing budget for this new direction based on, the impact.
Yeah, it's been fun. And again, we see that everywhere. I see that across the customer success community. I see that at the local restaurants down the street who have done that. And it's been really neat and inspiring to see.
Yep, absolutely. I'm thinking about, at the time of this recording, I don't think Texas is, at least is in like a formal, complete shutdown as we were
Hmm.
earlier. I know that many people are kind of doing phased reopenings or 25 or 50% capacity. I am, like everyone else, watching the news hesitantly or trying to get some kind of timeline on when this would be over or when we'd go back to normal, which kind of
Yeah.
makes me, this whole conversation of, I don't think we're ever going back to normal. I think there will be a new normal, or maybe an abnormal. But at some point, at any time in the future, when this is all over, and we're in kind of a post-COVID world, I'm wondering what you think the impact of customer success will be once this is all over. I loved what you said about relationships, and I think relationships were important before COVID, during COVID, and I'm sure they'll be important after. But I'm wondering, do you think that maybe customers will, I don't want to say have higher or different expectations around being in a relationship with a company, or just kind of how you think that'll be impacted?
Great question. I think on a number of fronts that we'll see. I think one is that I think we're going to change the way that we engage with customers. It's going to be much more agile, much more video, um, and I think customers will have higher expectations because we've gone through this period, and most people, there's a section of companies out there who are benefiting from this. Their business aligns to the pain points that are happening now, and so they're doing really well. The rest of everybody else, um, they're looking at every dollar, they're evaluating every solution, and they're really asking much deeper ROI questions about the purchases they make. And so I think the bar will be raised going forward for all vendors and and therefore the customer success community, who's usually on the front line helping to demonstrate the value of their solutions. So I think that will be a critical thing. Um, I think also there'll be much more, and this is more philosophical, but I think the empathy will be again a positive thing. I think that people understand are much more empathetic. They want to understand, and that empathy will lead to great, like you said, much more inquisitive about their business, about their needs, about their pain points, and really aligning their organizations to help them solve those pain points. And then one other thing I'd say, I think that customer success teams will rethink their impact on revenue and their willingness to own a number and own expansion and retention. Because unfortunately, I've seen many customer success teams impacted negatively by this, and a lot of times the theme is that they didn't demonstrate their value internally. And if you peel back the onion even further, a lot of times it's they don't own a number. They own, you know, keeping their customer happy and taking care of their customers. And they have a little bit more soft metrics that they're managing and owning, adoption, some of those. I think that more will embrace the idea of like, I need to own a much more, I need to be tied really directly to revenue and maybe own the revenue, own expansion and or renewal, and be willing to embrace that. Whereas in the past, they were nervous and apprehensive of embracing that.
Mm. Okay, that brings up a good question. I'm wondering that, and I've heard about, customer success teams, at least during this time, focusing more on long-term, not even expansion, just revenue or
Mm-hmm.
maintenance. I think at this point,
Yeah.
and then hopefully once they maintain those customers, then being able to really grow them in the future. I'm
Mm-hmm.
wondering, do you see that? I think we're all waiting for that growth to come back, and I think that will hopefully happen once the pandemic is completely, hopefully, put to rest. But I'm wondering, any at this point, it's all theory around how that growth and maintaining, and hopefully, at one point getting to expansion. What do you think that will look like in a post-COVID world?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of what I call a maintain and retain mentality, just in general. When I lead teams and when I encourage people, I really like people to go in with a very with a growth mindset, but a customer first growth mindset. Meaning, I really believe that CSMs can own a number and not reduce their trusted advisor relationship in doing so. And that's really by saying, I'm going to be very diligent about understanding my customers' key business objectives, their desired outcomes, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to do everything I can to help them achieve those and grow their business. And if they grow their business, then they will also expand in using our platform. And I think that when a customer success manager goes in with a very proactive mindset about engaging with customers, helping them grow, helping and therefore helping your company grow, that great things will follow. And that and the customer would naturally come to them to say, hey, I want to buy this more seats here, or I'm trying to solve this problem. Do you have a solution that can solve it? I really believe that customer success managers are the best solution sellers out there, and we just need to embrace that and do it in a very, in a very strategic way.
I love that. Best solution managers out there. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, final question here. I'm wondering, this could be, for unfortunately so many people have been negatively impacted, from a furlough perspective. Any
Mhm.
advice that you have for either, CSMs who are wanting to figure out how they can make the best use of this time, either if they're, dealing with job loss or not? Just what are things that you think that CSMs can be doing to really take advantage of this weird lull kind of period that we're in
Yeah.
before things start ramping back up?
Yeah, first of all, for all those who have been impacted, my heart goes out to you. Such a difficult time, and I'm sorry you're in that position. And my advice to you is, it goes back to what I said earlier: is have a give to get mentality. Find ways to give to the community during this time. Share your thought. Do what you're doing, Brittany. I love what you're doing here. This is great. But and so create a vlog or blog or participate in the online community. Maybe go find a company that you can provide pro bono consulting work and help them. And I think that those types of things will keep you really busy and engaged and learning and expanding who you are, and will also attract potential opportunities to you. That opportunities will come as you give. That those opportunities will be there quite a bit. So that's where I would encourage you to do is just keep growing and expanding and giving, and I really hope that you find the next best opportunity as soon as possible.
Yep, absolutely. Second that. Thank you so much, Dave. Where can our listeners find out more about you, more about client success? How can they get
Yeah.
into your great world here?
Well, we'd love you to come to our website, clientsuccess.com. If you go to /blog or webinars, we try to produce great content, practical content that you can use. And you can also see me on Twitter or LinkedIn. Dave C. Blake is on both of those is my handle. But if I can help out in any way with anybody out there, I'm so grateful for this community and love to give back as well. So let me know if I can help in any way.